Let's see how that looks on the track. This was recorded a couple months later, so luckily it was dry again. And here you can hopefully see how the car was finding a good racing line around the track. And you can hear how the tire forces in the turns, the squeal, are coordinated with the engine RPM as it's going out of the turn. You can hopefully hear the car making those trade-offs using this whole friction circle. In this test, we were trying to compare some different settings from this framework, and you saw the car was going sideways, going over this turn, and we were trying to work on that a little bit. But you saw the car was counter-steering and catching the car and not go all the way sideways. So in summary, we saw that with MPC, we can do integrated motion planning and control, and we can let go of both the path and the speed, and really do this based on our own objective function and constraints. And there are two big advantages in this new framework of serially cascading the models in our MPC planning horizon. We see that the high fidelity model can give us a very accurate level of control for the first part of the horizon, and we can get a very long extension of the horizon using a simpler model at low computational cost. I didn't talk yet about what happens when we don't know friction exactly like we did earlier. And definitely when there's a mismatch between the model and MPC and what the real world is like, there's going to be a mismatch. The closed loop performance will not match your open loop planning. And that's a robustness issue that's very typical for MPC. But when it comes to tire forces, MPC is trying to control steering angle, it's optimizing this. And therefore, implicitly, it's doing that for slip angle. So if MPC wants to corner as hard as it can, it will keep the steering wheel at those 6 degrees of front slip angle to get all of what is available right then and there. So let's do a quick overview of what I presented today. In the first part, we focused on trajectory tracking using decoupled control, and we saw how both the path and speed were fixed. This framework is concerned about forces and encodes all the force potential into a speed profile. We can push it too far and be sliding off the path, and we see that we're not using our tires very effectively, but they are showing us something very different. In the second part, we let go of the speed tracking, of the speed profile, but we allowed speed to be free to make small corrections. We focused on slip angle, and we saw this is a robust approach to getting all the force out of the tires, going faster around the turn, even if friction is not perfectly known. In the third part, we worked on MPC, where both the path and speed are free, and we introduced this new concept of cascading two types of vehicle models into the planning horizon, going both faster and solving the problem also faster. And the contributions in my thesis actually follow this same outline quite precisely. In the first part, I present an analysis of trajectory tracking control, and I show an experiment based on data that we saw with JR, and in addition, a closed loop stability analysis of the system. And I didn't talk about this today, but also worked on online estimating this tire load friction using a Bayesian hypothesis testing framework. In the second part of my thesis, I present two novel frameworks that robustly address the full tire force potential using slip angle control, and that can always maintain control over the path tracking dynamics using speed feedback. And today I presented one of them based on the center of percussion. And in the third part of my thesis, I worked on nonlinear MPC for automated vehicle control with a new concept for long horizon planning through a strictly cascaded model of complexity. The logical question might be, how does this compare to JR? We actually managed to beat him. And they're not there yet. There are a couple things we need to work on to actually do this. If I could pick one thing, this would be the thing I want to show you. That's robustness of MPC against the model mismatch. And I want to show you this replay of real measurement data from the racetrack. And in this animation, you see two vehicles. The black car is replaying a measurement run, where the car was allowed to use 94% of friction. And the white car here was able to use 98%, so a little bit more. So I'll start the video. So we see how the white car is going to the same long left-hand turn, just slowly making up space to the somewhat slower black car. And I want to emphasize that these cars are not responding to each other. These are just replays of two independent measurement runs. The white car is getting closer and closer, runs a bit wide, picks up speed, and right there, it bounces off the road edge. It's swerving, touching the brakes, and really upsetting the balance of the car. So it's really hard still to crank it up all the way to go faster on the track. So we have to work on some ways to increase the robustness of the model to avoid behavior like this. I'm sure the car was not planning on bouncing off like this, but it was planning on flying just by and go fast. So the mismatch caused this to happen, and we have to work on that and adapt the model on the fly, for example. I have to thank many people for their support. First of all, my committee. And instead of headshots, I tried to find pictures of you in the work that you are so passionate about. And I think, Chris, this picture describes how I got to know you. Out there on the racetrack with us, holding a radio and a soft stop, super excited about the test we just did, already brainstorming about the new ideas. Thank you for having faith in me, bringing me on board, for giving me freedom in my research, taking me to cool places, meet amazing people, and thank you for teaching me how to be an ambassador for the lab and for myself. Marco, I got to know you in your optimal control class. Immediately laid the foundations for me for MPC, motivating me to go this way. When I would come to your office for a meeting, I would really appreciate to see how involved you are with your students. I would love how we talk about research. You would take me downstairs to meet Joe and James right then and there to brainstorm more. I really love your enthusiasm for all of that. Mac, I met you in state estimation and filtering. I really appreciate it, how meticulous you were in teaching this class, and really was very helpful in the development of my friction estimator. And I want to thank both of you for your students that joined us at the racetrack. Really became part of the team, and it's a pleasure to work with all of them. Zach, we only met 2 weeks ago when I came to your office. I really want to thank you for being here today. We had a great discussion about this concept of serially cascading the models, and I loved how excited you were about bringing in new ideas about discount factors and the true mean improvement theory, and really sparked a discussion. So thank you for being my chair today, and thank you for being there. And without you, Aaron, I would not have been here today. You were the one to introduce me to Chris, and you gave me the confidence to take a chance on me. And when I was working with you in La Jolla, you put me in an amazing apartment, but really you invited me to be part of your home and your family, and you became a mentor. I want to thank you for inspiring me, for working hard and giving it my best, and taking me on long runs along La Jolla shores and running my first half marathon with me. Running has been an amazing way for me to stay sane and focused during this whole PhD process. So thank you for being a mentor. The many sponsors that I want to thank, they provide so many resources to do all the cool things that we do. Especially the guys at Volkswagen ERL in particular, they've been of amazing help over the last couple of years on Shelly and the new car Nikki here. Thomas, Felix, Jörn, Paul, Jonas, Rob, Rick, all you guys have been amazing helping us over all those years. Thank you very much for your support. And there are many people that really make this lab unstoppable. Right now, you sometimes refer to us as your kids, and I really want to thank you for how much you care about us. And thank you for taking all care of all logistics together with Joe. Adele, Stephen, thank you for all your hard work in cars, supporting the research, providing amazing, inspiring events that we can go to, and connecting us to some of the amazing people in the world. Larry, hope you're watching online. Thank you for looking after us at the racetrack and at Vail, and taking us to the track safely together with Dan. Thank you, Godwin, for your help with the electronics. Thanks all the drivers, JR, Gunnar, David, for setting the bar really high by being amazing race car drivers. Thanks to all my colleagues in the lab who quickly became my friends. Thanks for all the cool memories that we created together, doing so many cool things, racing go-karts, racing Lamborghinis, testing cool cars in the heat of Portugal and in the cold of top secret locations. We're sharing Heineken after a long day at the track, working on classic race cars, going to conferences, and so many trips to the racetrack. And it's really great if you know that you can trust the guy next to you if you're in a self-driving racing car going into a turn at close to 1G. So thank you all for supporting me. Thank you, Dutch at Stanford, for making Stanford feel like home. And thank you, Triathlon team, for challenging me to always push for the limit. Thank you, friends, both here and back home. So many amazing memories that we shared, whether they are sporty, tasty, fast, fun, beautiful. I really cherish your support, and thank you very much for all of that. And finally, my family. Thank you for inspiring me to work hard and chase my dreams, even if these dreams were far away in Japan, San Diego, or now here at Stanford. Thank you for your unconditional support and for giving me and my sister all the opportunities that I could possibly wish for. So very happy that you're here today, and with that I want to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much. I think there will be a microphone for questions.
Sensor suite is utilized to even get the data which allows you to build onto it to do such complex controls?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in this specific vehicle, we focus on very accurate GPS. So we have what we call differential GPS for the base station. And with making corrections to the current signals, we can have an accuracy and position of a centimeter. That's also using motion sensors in the vehicle. So that's our localization in the world. I'm using the same type of GPS maps to scan the road edges. So before we do a test, we first measure where the edges are and generate those reference paths. So these cars are not responding to the actual edges of the track. Many other people in the lab here work on exactly localizing us like that. So yeah, GPS and inertial navigation systems are we use for our maps and for our own localization.
Hey buddy, awesome job. Just curious, when you think about the ability of this to be rolled out into production, typically I think in enterprise software people look at 80% ready to go, 20% customization. For a company like Waymo that might want to put this into their vehicles, what level of customization do they have to before they can roll this out?
Oh, that's a very tough question. This is very much prototyping, of course. Well, we very purposely go to a racetrack and then do this in a very closed environment. I'm hoping that some of these concepts here are useful. I think the idea of cascading models in series is quite powerful. Maybe not just in road vehicles, but other applications too. Economics, HVAC, power grids, whatever you can think of. So I'm hoping more that these ideas are going to inspire other people to apply these techniques in applications. But yeah, maybe these approaches find their way into production vehicles and make them safer for sure.
Hey Vincent, thanks for such an awesome presentation. My question is about when you showed the data related to computation times for the original MPC model and then the cascaded one. It looked like the one where you were using the serially cascaded model had more outliers and more significant outliers. And I was wondering if you had an intuition for why that would be.
That's a great question. I think it's this figure. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure. This one. I honestly do not have a good answer why there are more outliers. We worked a lot on trying to get the numeric optimization to work the way it does. This is using the interior point method, so we don't know how many iterations it's going to take to solve the problem. And there's a lot to learn about how to scale the problem, how to make differentiable functions. After talking to Zach, I realized there's a lot that we can learn about these techniques and really use the computers in the most effective ways. So I don't know why there are outliers, but I do know why the completion times are lower, because we can look at the problem, how sparse it is, and we can really see how we achieved a lower sparsity or better sparsity for the new design. But yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of focus on this going into the future.
Hey Vincent, great presentation. Could you explain what the center of percussion is?
Yeah, so it's It's a very unique point on the vehicle where the effect of the lateral acceleration of the vehicle is countered by the rotational one. So if you move the car sideways and push on the rear axle, you start to move sideways, but also rotate the car around the CG. And at this specific point, exactly there, those two effects are cancelled. So the rear axle doesn't affect what's happening there. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I'm happy to discuss more and show you all the books from Millikan and Millikan and go really into details of vehicle dynamics. It's really cool.
Does it move sideways as you turn, or does it stay in the same point?
For the bicycle model, it stays in the same point. Yeah. Many people use this for, or some people, even from the lab, Nick, use this for controller design for steering, trying to minimize the error at center of percussion using feed-forward steering. And the cool things we can do for actually center of percussion for the rear axle if you want to use rear steering, for example. So there's some really cool things that we can talk about.
So it sounded as if you need this optimization to actually complete in a particular period of time to stay on the road and stay safe. So do you worry about how long it will take to converge, whether it will converge, and how do you reason about that and stay safe?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way this is implemented is that normally we want to take one step into the future, but we have all the future planning stages readily available. So at least for some small amount of time, we have a plan to iterate on. And that's what we do. So we send over a second of the plan to the car, to the controllers. So if you don't have an answer yet, we'll just start interpolating into the plan a little bit more until we hit a point where we realize we're gonna not make it. Then we turn back to a different controller as a fallback and slow the car down and come to a stop. We have not hit that situation in any of the recent tests at all. This is without any guarantees is conversion. But there's still a safety fallback to make sure we come to a stop if it doesn't work. So yes, it's okay to overrun the 50 milliseconds for a little bit.
So did you say there are guarantees of convergence?
No, actually they're not. No.
I saw results for on dry track and on rain track, but I was curious if you tested the speed adjustment with the constant slip angle in the undisclosed ISO locations and how those models performed on ice.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we did. On this frozen lake, there are these huge circles where you can drive at 50 miles an hour and go pretty sideways. We tested it there, and it worked okay. There are some technical details, but in this model, we assume that we can use all the forces for cornering. But actually, for speed control, we have to apply some throttle and brake sometimes. So this model would not always be perfect. So we see some oscillations every now and then. And also, these surfaces are not just snow and ice, they're really patchy. So sometimes cars are sliding and really polishing the ice there. So as you hit those, the car gets upset and it starts to feel a little bit wobbly. So we tested it, it works, but I think the new optimization frameworks can do a lot better in doing so. And we were there again in February for testing the nonlinear NPC framework, and it worked okay, but we learned some really cool lessons there about what the rear axle should be doing. So I wish there was a chance to go back tomorrow and give it another shot, but yeah, very happy with where we are now.
Any other questions?
So I see that this is all done with steering. Is there any use of the brakes? And is this and if you're using the brakes, you're only using one channel of control for the braking?
Yeah, that's correct. This car has individual wheel braking to some extent, so we can control where the brake torque is going. I'm assuming a fixed distribution between front and rear brakes. It could easily be changed to some other function. And John Sabosis in the lab is working on how we use four-wheel braking to get even more performance beyond what drivers can do with a single pedal. So yeah, for me it's one input based on force, but there are more options to go beyond what drivers can do. One more question.
Okay, last one.
It's not that personal.
Oh.
I don't know how you feel about friction coefficients, but so in my thanks for the presentation, by the way. It was very interesting. You select the friction coefficient kind of manually based on the weather. And so how do you foresee that working in the real world where that might vary. Do you think there would be a sensor or something that is giving you the friction coefficient?
Yeah, that's a good question. Friction estimation is definitely a large field of ongoing research. People work on many different techniques to do this, and we need to have a plan for coming up to a turn. We have to know if it's snow or wet or dry, so we need to have some sort of estimate of friction, and that can be based on the motion of the vehicle, so the way that the tires respond, or vibrations in the tires. There are many different techniques that people consider. So yes, we need techniques like this. My goal was to show that we can keep the car safe and use all the tire force potential, even though we don't know exactly what that force is, which is very realistic based on what I see in my own experiments using friction estimators and what I see in publications in nature. Thank you all very much.
So we take a break, and then it's